The impossible challenge, the Zephyrian High Council. Chamber hummed with nervous energy as Chancellor Vexthara reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Across the galaxy, 17 civilizations had attempted the Crucible of Worlds trial. All had failed within the first solar cycle. The trial was simple in concept, but devastating in execution. Survive on Kethmora, a death world where reality itself seemed hostile to life. Captain Marcus Stone of the Terran Defense Corps stood before the alien tribunal, his weathered face showing no emotion as the Chancellor spoke. Human, your species has been selected for the final trial. Kethmora awaits. The planet's surface temperature fluctuates between -200 and +400 degrees Celsius within hours. Gravity shifts unpredictably. The atmosphere contains 17 different toxins. No civilization has lasted more than 6 rotations. Stone's team of 12 humans listened quietly. Sergeant Rita Kowalski cracked her knuckles. Lieutenant Jake. Morrison adjusted his pack straps. Medic Tommy Park yawned openly. The Zephyrians interpreted this as terror-induced shock. They were wrong. What's the record? Stone asked casually. 5 rotations, 18 hours. The Kalfani Empire's elite guard. Any rules against modifications to the environment? Chancellor. Vexthara's crystalline features shifted in confusion. Modifications? The planet is a natural phenomenon. You cannot modify. Just checking. Stone interrupted with a slight grin. The transport ship descended through Kethmora's violet atmosphere. Lightning storms raged across continents. Volcanic eruptions painted the sky in shades of orange and red. Acid rain hammered their vessel as they approached the designated landing zone. Looks cozy, muttered Corporal Linda Chong, watching lava. Flows carve new rivers across the landscape. Reminds me of summer camp, added Private First Class Devin Rodriguez. The ship touched down on a relatively stable plateau. The moment the doors opened, the environment struck them like a physical blow. The air burned their lungs despite their protective gear. The ground beneath their feet shifted and groaned ominously within the first hour. 3 team members had been struck by debris from micrometeor showers. 2 others had been partially buried when the ground suddenly liquefied. The temperature had dropped 40 degrees in 20 minutes, freezing their water supplies solid. The Zephyrians monitored from orbit, expecting the usual pattern: panic, desperate attempts at shelter construction, followed by systematic breakdown and eventual rescue beacon activation. Instead, they watched Stone's team methodically survey their surroundings. They collected samples of the toxic atmosphere. They measured the gravity fluctuations. They mapped the temperature variations. And then they began to laugh. "Command, this is Stone." His voice crackled through the communication array. "We've got good news and bad news. The bad news is this place is trying really hard to kill us." A pause filled with background sounds of construction and more laughter. "The good news is we're not impressed. Stone out." The Zephyrians stared at their monitors in bewilderment as the humans began building what appeared to be a greenhouse adapting to chaos by the end of the first rotation. The human team had established what they cheerfully called Camp Maybe We'll Die Today. The name was painted on a sign made from melted meteor fragments, displayed prominently outside their main shelter. The Zephyrian observers had never seen anything like it. The shelter itself defied conventional engineering. Built into a natural rock formation, it utilized the planet's own violent tendencies as structural support. When earthquakes hit, the flexible framework rode the waves like a ship on stormy seas. When lava flows approached, a series of carefully angled channels directed the molten rock to heat their living spaces. Genius or madness? Muttered Sub-Chancellor Krythex, watching the feeds from orbit. With humans, often both. Chancellor Vexthara replied grimly. Sergeant Kowalski had become the team's chief engineer through pure necessity. She discovered that the toxic atmosphere when filtered through volcanic glass and cooled by the frequent temperature drops produced breathable air with a slight metallic tang. "Tastes like pennies and freedom," she announced to her teammates. Lieutenant Morrison had taken charge of food procurement. The planet's surface was supposedly devoid of edible matter, but Morrison approached the problem with typical human creativity. He learned to predict the meteor showers that brought ice from space. The ice, when properly processed, provided clean water. The meteors themselves often contained trace minerals that, combined with their emergency rations, created surprisingly nutritious meals. "You're eating space rocks," observed Medic Park during their evening meal preparation. "Space rocks with flavor," Morrison corrected, adding some crystallized atmosphere to his concoction. The real breakthrough came when Corporal Zhang discovered the planet's magnetic field fluctuations followed a pattern. By the fourth rotation, she had mapped the cycles and learned to predict the gravity shifts. This allowed the team to time their activities, using low gravity periods for construction and high gravity times for testing their equipment's durability. Private Rodriguez had appointed himself the team's morale officer, a position he took seriously. Each evening, as the temperature plummeted and aurora-like phenomena danced across the poisonous sky, he would share stories from Earth, tales of human survival, exploration, and the stubborn refusal to quit that seemed to define their species. "Know what I love about this place?" Rodriguez said one evening as they watched a lightning storm that would have terrified most civilizations. "It's honest. It's not pretending to be friendly. It's just pure, raw hostility. And we're still here." The Zephyrians intercepted these communications with growing unease. Other species had sent distress signals by now. The Kalthani had begun hallucinating from atmospheric poisoning. The Vrextai had suffered complete equipment failure and psychological breakdown. The humans were hosting storytelling sessions. By the 8th rotation, the impossible was happening. Not only were the humans surviving, they were adapting. Their camp had expanded. They had established a workshop using salvaged materials and natural resources. They had even begun what appeared to be agricultural experiments, attempting to grow plants in the hostile soil. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Talara, "they've sent another transmission." Chancellor Vexthara steeled himself. "Play it." Captain Stone's voice filled the chamber, calm and steady. "Zephyrian Command. This is Camp Maybe We'll Die Today. Rotation 8 report. Weather's been lovely. Kowalski's figured out how to make coffee using atmospheric pressure variations." Morrison caught a fish. "A fish?" The Chancellor's translator struggled with the concept. "Turns out those aren't rocks floating in the lava streams. They're actually some kind of silicon-based life form. Taste like chicken. Spicy chicken. Really, really spicy chicken." The transmission continued with technical details about successful shelter expansion, successful cultivation of Earth-origin seeds in modified soil, and a request for sheet music because Rodriguez wanted to start a choir. The Zephyrians sat in stunned silence as Stone concluded. "Oh, and we've named the lightning storms. This one's called Gerald. Gerald's having a particularly energetic day." Turning hell into home 15 rotations had passed since the humans landed on Kethmora, shattering every record and defying every prediction. The Zephyrian monitoring stations buzzed with activity as xenobiologists, military strategists, and psychologists tried to understand what they were witnessing. Camp Maybe We'll Die Today had evolved into something unprecedented. The humans had constructed not just survival shelters, but what could only be described as a thriving outpost. Solar collectors made from polished meteor fragments powered their equipment. Geothermal taps channeled volcanic heat for warmth and energy. Water reclamation systems turned the acidic precipitation into drinking water that, according to their reports, only burns a little going down. The most disturbing development, from the Zephyrian perspective, was the humans' relationship with the planet's dangers. They had stopped treating Kethmora as an enemy to be endured and started treating it as a puzzle to be solved. Medic Park had established what he called the Planetary Injury Research Station. Every team member's encounters with the environment became data points. Burns from acid rain led to the development of protective salves made from indigenous mineral compounds. Injuries from gravity fluctuations resulted in modified movement techniques that actually used the shifts to their advantage. "We're not fighting the planet anymore," Park explained in one of his daily medical reports. "We're learning to dance with it." Sergeant Kowalski had become something of a geological prophet, able to predict eruptions, earthquakes, and atmospheric storms with increasing accuracy. Her workshop, carved directly into the living rock, produced tools and equipment that seemed impossible given their limited resources. She had learned to forge metal using volcanic heat, to create glass from melted sand during temperature spikes, and to weave protective fabric from crystallized atmospheric compounds. "The secret," she explained to the orbiting observers during one transmission, "is to stop thinking about what this place lacks and start seeing what it provides. Sure, it's trying to kill us, but it's also giving us everything we need to survive. We just have to be creative about collection methods." Lieutenant Morrison had achieved what the Zephyrians considered impossible. He had established sustainable food production. His hellscape gardens utilized the planet's extreme conditions as features rather than obstacles. Plants grew in specially designed containers that used gravitational flux to enhance root development. Atmospheric toxins, when properly filtered and concentrated, served as surprisingly effective fertilizers. "You should see the tomatoes," Morrison reported cheerfully. "They're about twice the size of Earth normal, and they glow slightly. We're calling them death fruits. They taste fantastic." The Zephyrians were particularly disturbed by the humans' psychological state. Extended exposure to Kethmora's hostile environment should have resulted in madness, despair, or catatonic shutdown. Instead, the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Private Rodriguez had indeed started his choir. Every evening, as the planet's multiple moons rose through the toxic atmosphere, 12 human voices would harmonize in songs from Earth. The acoustics created by the rock formations and atmospheric density gave their music an otherworldly quality. It somehow made the alien landscape seem less forbidding. Corporal Zhang had begun what she called extreme sports Kethmora style. Using the gravity fluctuations and controlled avalanches, she and several teammates engaged in activities that looked like certain death to outside observers, but which they described as the best skiing in the galaxy. "The trick," Zhang explained, during one particularly hair-raising demonstration, "is timing your jumps with the gravity wells. You can fly for almost 30 seconds if you catch the right updraft." Captain Stone maintained his role as mission commander, but his daily reports had evolved from survival updates to something resembling tourism recommendations. He described scenic vistas created by lava flows, optimal viewing times for the aurora, storms, and the meditative qualities of watching their camp withstand another planetary tantrum. By rotation 20, the humans had established trade relationships with several of the planet's silicon-based life forms. These creatures initially, assumed to be mindless mineral formations, showed signs of intelligence and curiosity about their human neighbors. "Turns out they're quite friendly once you figure out how to communicate," Stone reported. "Morrison's teaching them poker. Kowalski's showing them engineering techniques. They're showing us mineral veins and safe passages through the volcanic zones. It's a fair trade." The final straw for the Zephyrian observers came when the humans submitted a formal petition to establish Kethmora as humanity's first extraterrestrial colony. The unthinkable proposal, the Zephyrian High Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Chancellor Vexthara's crystalline form flickered with agitation as he read the human transmission for the 7th time. Around him, representatives from 17 different species buzzed, clicked, and harmonized their disbelief. They want to establish a permanent settlement, Sub-Chancellor Krythex repeated, his voice translator struggling with the concept. On Kethmora, the death world that has claimed more lives than the Plague Wars. Captain Stone's formal request lay displayed on the central holocaster. Terran Defense Corps hereby submits application for colonial establishment. Planet designation Kethmora, to be renamed New Paradise pending approval. Population 12. Initial settlers expandable to 500 within 2 solar cycles. Primary industries: extreme weather tourism, geological research, and specialty agriculture. The audacity was breathtaking. The humans had not only survived 30 rotations on the galaxy's most hostile world, they wanted to invite more humans to join them. New paradise? Ambassador Quintal of the Hegemony Worlds raised her sensory stalks in bewilderment. They named that hellscape New Paradise? Chancellor Vexthara activated the communication array. Captain Stone, explain your reasoning. Stone's voice came through clear and confident. Simple economics, Chancellor. We've developed sustainable systems, established friendly relations with the native life forms, and identified 17 different valuable mineral deposits. The geothermal energy potential alone could power a small city. The unique atmospheric conditions are perfect for certain types of manufacturing impossible on standard worlds. The planet tries to murder everything that lands on it. Only if you don't know how to listen to what it's telling you, Stone replied calmly. We've had 0 fatalities and only minor injuries since Rotation 8. Our safety protocols are more advanced than most industrial installations. The truth was even more disturbing than the humans realized. The Zephyrians had designed Kethmora as the ultimate test precisely because it was meant to be impossible. They had artificially enhanced the planet's natural hostility using terraforming technology, creating a world so dangerous that no sane species would ever consider permanent. Habitation. It was meant to humble the other species, to demonstrate the futility of challenging Zephyrian dominance. Every civilization that attempted the trial was supposed to emerge broken, grateful for Zephyrian mercy, and willing to accept subordinate status in the galactic hierarchy. The humans had turned their ultimate weapon into a vacation resort. We need to see this for ourselves, declared war leader Thigmer of the militant coalition. Send a survey team. Within hours, a mixed species inspection fleet departed for Kethmora. Representatives from 12 different governments, accompanied by xenobiologists, military analysts, and survival experts, prepared to witness what they assumed must be an elaborate deception. The landing party arrived during what the humans had designated afternoon storm season. Winds that could strip flesh from bone howled across the landscape. Lightning strikes turned sand into glass sculptures. The temperature fluctuated 60 degrees in 10 minutes. The aliens huddled in their environmental suits, sophisticated technology barely keeping them alive. Their instruments screamed warnings about radiation levels, atmospheric toxicity, and gravitational anomalies that should have liquefied their internal organs. Through the chaos, they saw a figure approaching. A human woman wearing what appeared to be locally made clothing walked casually through conditions that would kill most species in seconds. She waved cheerfully as lightning struck the ground near her feet. You must be the inspection team. Sergeant. Kowalski called out, her voice carrying easily through the howling wind. Captain Stone's waiting at base camp. Watch out for the gravity well about 50 meters ahead. It's a bit bouncy today. The inspection team followed her in stunned silence, their equipment registering environmental hazards that their guide seemed to ignore completely. When they reached Camp Maybe We'll Die Today, what they found defied every assumption about survival. On hostile worlds, the settlement bustled with activity. Humans moved efficiently between structures that seemed to grow from the planet itself. Gardens bloomed with impossible plants. Workshop sounds mixed with laughter as team members shared meals around tables made from polished volcanic rock. "Welcome to New Paradise," Captain Stone greeted them, offering drinks served in cups carved from meteor fragments. "How was the trip down? Gerald's been particularly energetic today." Gerald? War leader Thakmer's translator struggled with the name. The lightning storm. We name all the major weather patterns. Helps us track their behavior. Gerald's moody but predictable. Martha's the real troublemaker. She's a dust storm. With attitude. The inspection continued for 3 planetary rotations. Every system the humans had developed was examined, tested, and found to be not only functional, but elegant in its simplicity. They had created sustainable civilization from pure hostility. The final report would change galactic politics forever. The new galactic order, the emergency session of the Galactic Council, convened with unprecedented attendance. Representatives from 47 species gathered to address what historians would later call the human question. The inspection team's report had circulated through diplomatic channels, causing reactions ranging from awe to terror that Captain Stone stood before. The assembled aliens, no longer just a test subject, but humanity's first official ambassador to galactic civilization. Behind him, holographic displays showed New Paradise Colony in full operation. Population had grown to 37 humans, with more arriving weekly. What had been humanity's greatest trial had become their most sought-after posting. The evidence is undeniable. Chancellor Vexthara addressed the assembly, his crystalline form dimmed with what appeared to be defeat. The humans have not merely survived Kethmora. They have claimed it, transformed it, made it productive. The implications rippled through the chamber. If humans could colonize the galaxy's most hostile world, what did that mean for the existing? Balance of power? What did it mean for species that had spent millennia avoiding such environments? Ambassador Quintal spoke first. "Captain Stone, explain to this council how your species accomplished what every other civilization considered impossible." Stone smiled, the same easy confidence he had shown since first landing on Kethmora. "With respect, Ambassador, I think you're asking the wrong question. You're asking how we survived something terrible. We never saw it as terrible." He gestured to the holographic displays, showing his people working, building, and thriving. "You saw a death world. We saw opportunity. You saw impossible challenges. We saw interesting problems to solve. You saw an environment trying to kill. U.S. We saw a planet with strong opinions about how to live on it." War leader Thakmer leaned forward aggressively. "Your species shows no proper fear response. This makes you dangerous. Unpredictable." "Dangerous to whom?" Stone countered. "We've harmed no one. We've made friends with the silicon-based life forms you didn't even know existed. We've developed sustainable technology that could benefit every species here. We've proven that worlds you've written off as uninhabitable might actually be paradise for those willing to adapt." The debate continued for hours. Some species called for human expansion to be limited, fearing that humanity's strange relationship with danger would upset established territorial boundaries. Others proposed immediate trade negotiations, recognizing the potential value of human innovation. Sub-Chancellor Krythex raised the crucial question: what do humans want from galactic civilization? "Partnership," Stone replied simply. "We want to share what we've learned and learn from others. There are probably thousands of worlds like Kethmora scattered across the galaxy, worlds with tremendous potential that nobody's been willing to develop because they're difficult. You want to colonize death worlds? We want to colonize opportunity worlds. Every planet has something to offer if you approach it with the right attitude. Extreme conditions often produce extreme benefits for those who can handle them. The revelation that humans actually preferred challenging environments to comfortable ones sent shockwaves through the assembly. Several species immediately began reviewing their territorial charts, identifying worlds they had avoided due to hostile conditions. Chancellor Vexthara called for a recess, during which frantic diplomatic negotiations took place. When the Council reconvened, a new proposal was on the table. The Galactic Council hereby recognizes humanity as a full member species, Vexthara announced. Furthermore, we propose the establishment of the Human Colonial Development Program. Humanity will be granted rights to attempt colonization of worlds designated as uninhabitable by other species. The vote was unanimous. Some species voted out of genuine respect for human achievement. Others voted out of relief, hoping to redirect human expansion away from more comfortable worlds. All of them voted with the understanding that the galaxy had just become a very different place. Captain Stone accepted on behalf of humanity with characteristic understatement. We appreciate the recognition. We'll try not to disappoint you. 6 months later, human colonies were established on 12 previously impossible worlds. Each colony thrived, developing unique solutions to local challenges and contributing innovations that benefited the entire galactic community. The Zephyrians' test world had become humanity's launching point to the stars. What was meant to demonstrate the impossibility of challenging established order had instead proven that some species saw impossible as merely the starting point for interesting. The humans had not flinched when faced with the galaxy's ultimate challenge. They had made it home. And across the galaxy, other species began to wonder what other impossible things might be possible with the right attitude and a willingness to see opportunity where others saw only obstacles. The age of human expansion had begun not with conquest, but with the simple refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible.